Welcome to Unmasking Dementia Lived Experiences, a podcast featuring families who have navigated the challenges of caring for loved ones with dementia. Through heartfelt stories, we will delve into trials, triumphs, and wisdom gained along the way. My name is Christiana, a registered nurse, dementia advocate, children's author specializing in dementia education, memory care specialist, owner of reputable memory care facilities in Toronto, Canada, as well as the founder of a Rose for Grandma Wellness Hub, a charitable organization that caters to the needs of communities of Black, Indigenous, and people of color facing the challenges of dementia. Dementia doesn't affect individuals alone, it actually impacts the entire family. While each journey is unique, sharing experiences can strengthen and encourage the people that are going through this journey. Professional insights will light our way into care, management, and potentially prevention. Join us as we raise awareness, offer support, empower, and unravel the complexities of dementia together. Joining us today is my partner in health and wellness and co-host of our Forever Young podcast, Cherrie-Marie Chiu. Cherrie holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in International Studies and an MBA. Cherrie and I crossed paths approximately 5 years ago at the ELA program, which celebrates female entrepreneurship. Our connection was immediate, fueled in part by the shared sorrow of losing cherished loved ones. For Cherrie, it was her beloved younger brother, Christopher. As for myself, it was the profound loss of my late husband, Tony, the love of my life. Cherrie's journey is a testament to resilience and determination. Channeling the anguish of losing her sibling, she embarked on a mission to advocate for ALS research, leading to the establishment of ALS Double in 2014. This organization aims to raise awareness, fund research, and extend support to affected families in their quest to find a cure for ALS. Welcome again, Cherrie. So good to see you. And
Good to see you too.
most of our followers will be seeing us for the first time because
Yeah,
Forever Young podcast was just audio only.
that's right. That's right. Well, it's good to be here, and I'm excited to help you as you start your new podcast.
Thank you. So the interesting fact about ALS is that 5 to 10% of people with ALS will eventually develop frontotemporal dementia, FTD. And this has been made very popular by Bruce Willis and Wendy Williams, right?
Right. Yeah.
About 5 to 10% of people also with FTD will develop ALS.
So it's kind of like a spectrum of the disease. Not everyone, but you're right. Like 5 to 10% of people with ALS will develop FTD, and 5 to 10% of people with FTD will develop ALS. And sometimes it's not even the whole disease. Like now it's known in ALS that a lot of people, I'm not even sure yet. We don't really know the numbers yet, so I don't want to say most, but a lot of people have some kind of cognitive change. Whereas before we used to say there was no cognitive change at all with ALS, and that the spectrum with FTD was a very small percentage of people. But now we're seeing more and more that there is cognitive change with people with ALS. Now, my brother actually donated his brain and spinal cord to ALS research when he passed, and they did do the testing on it, and he had pure ALS. There was really no cognitive decline in him, and that's what we did see as well when he was alive and living with ALS. Bruce Willis having FTD and Wendy Williams is really bringing to the forefront the disease also and that relationship with ALS. And it's amazing, and it helps us a lot with awareness of both diseases.
And generally speaking, being a caregiver of someone who is going through a chronic disease, doesn't matter if it's dementia, ALS, even cancer, it's tough.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you have had the I don't like to be negative. You don't like to be negative either.
No.
But you've been thrown into that situation where you had to care for both your brother and your dad.
Yeah.
So please share with us how, as a caregiver, your mom, yourself, and your family, how you navigated this devastating journey and how it impacted your entire family.
So I want to say at first, everybody deals with chronic disease and a fatal disease differently. And I think for our family, while we were all very positive in a way about it, we all, my mom, my dad, and I, we all sort of dealt with it differently. So my mom, as a mom, was very nurturing, of course, always there for Christopher, right by his side. Dad chose to work. He continued to work till he was 80 years old. But I think in his mind, working was the way he contributed to helping because of the whole, our healthcare system will not provide the help and support that we needed, the 24-hour round the clock care for Christopher. And so by working, he was able to contribute financially to paying us, having a PSW around all the time. And for me, I started a charity. I changed my whole life and started this charity. And so while the everyday was and definitely could be monotonous, I think we all together were really sort of positive, optimistic, uplifting for Christopher because with ALS, I'm not sure many people know the disease, so you lose the ability to use your voluntary muscles. For Christopher, it started in his left leg and his grip strength, which was really sad because he was a photographer, so he was unable to work almost immediately after he became sick. And so knowing that he was really unable to do things that he loved anymore, the only thing that I felt like I can do was be positive, was maybe be a distraction, um, sort of like not a reminder of his illness when I was around. And if he needed help, of course, I would help him with things like, changing the channel on the TV, feeding him, helping him get to the bathroom. He was my younger brother, and I'm sure when he was a baby, I would help with his diapers and getting him to the bathroom. But man, like as adults, you never think that you have to take your brother to the bathroom, right? These things, Christopher had to swallow his pride. I had to get over the fear or the embarrassment because these were just things that you needed to do. And I think you never think of those things really as adults, and even helping someone with a chronic illness, you don't think of those day to day and those simple things that need to be done. So I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Yeah, no, you did. It's truly, truly heartbreaking, and these are diseases that just devastate and traumatizes a lot of individuals. Some people come out of it with resilience, like yourself, and some people get crushed by it. But you lost Christopher. Your dad worked hard, to support the family, and then by the time he retired, you guys started to
Yeah.
notice the cognitive decline in your dad. And
Mm.
although he was never officially or formally diagnosed, but he did have the dementia symptoms, which
Yes.
seemed to progress and go worse during the
Yeah,
pandemic. So while you
that's
and I
right.
were doing the Forever Young podcast, you were also, yourself and your mom, were having to test every day before you could go to the nursing home to visit your father.
That's
And
right.
you were steadfast. You were there, you know, he felt the love, he knew the love. And from stories, your father was a very funny guy, and you know, you had a lot of laugh.
Yes.
So the thing about, you know, this caring for a loved one when you're going through this really terrible journey is to find something to laugh about, you know, to
Oh,
find
yes.
that joy. So I will ask you what some of the challenges were when you realized that, yeah, your dad is actually going through this process of dementia. What were the challenges that you faced initially?
I think at first, because we didn't realize that it was dementia, it was so hard. I spent a lot of time being angry at my father because I felt like he wasn't, because at the beginning, he was just unsteady on his feet. I felt like he was being hard headed and not listening to mom about not getting up in the middle of the night, not trying to walk without a walker. And I was so mad. I felt like he was not appreciating my mom and everything that she was doing to help him. And now I'm like, oh my goodness, he had no idea. He did not understand what was happening to him. He did not know that he wasn't strong. Like he didn't process any of that. So that challenge up front, I think was the hardest part. He had a really big fall. I think it was like right at the beginning of 2020. And he ended up in the hospital. And I remember then that was like really the first understanding of it all because what had happened was when he was in the hospital, he was very confused. He thought he thought he and mom were in India, and
Mhm.
he really did not like the hotel they were staying at. And while it was
It was
so,
in the four-star hotel, unfortunately.
and it was really funny, but at the same time, it was really frightening for us because why didn't he understand where he was, right? So I think that was the first point where mom and I really realized that there's something more to this than just, what's happening. So I think those challenges up front where you're not sure and you don't know. And because of COVID, he was not able to go through the testing to receive that diagnosis so that we would know how to better care for him. So I think up front, that was the most difficult for us.
It's something that I keep, you know, expressing whenever I have the opportunity to actually diagnose someone as a family member, to know really that your loved one has dementia. It takes a while. There are things
Mhm.
that you start to do that you sort of overlook. You just put it to
Oh
something
yeah.
else, like how you felt. And
Yeah.
it will be later, looking back, you go, oh my God, something was actually happening, you know.
Mhm.
So it's tough because again, I would say when we first started out in 1990, one of my very first staff actually developed dementia while working with us.
Oh wow.
You know, she
Yeah.
had done things that at first I was like, I was going to fire her. But as I sat at the table to write this letter, I started, tears were welling up in my eyes. And I'm like, no, this woman has been so good. She's been so supportive. What's going on? And,
Yeah.
you know, eventually I decided to just bridge her through to retirement because she was almost 65. I gave
Mhm.
her chores, which I could not afford. I could not afford to have just one person doing laundry, but I wanted to keep her on. But she
Yeah.
couldn't do that. She would stay there in the dark, eat her meal, and put the bowl in the washer. That was when I said, oh my God, this is really something. And
Yeah.
I referred that to a geriatrician. So sometimes, and that is where forgiveness comes in. A lot
Mhm.
of people end up not forgiving their loved ones for what they did, but you don't know when the disease actually started. So we
No.
have to try and be forgiving. And also, when you see your loved one acting out of sorts, please seek help. So,
Mhm.
Cherrie, what are some specific resources that supported you through this process? Were you able to find any sort of community support, or did you have to do this all by yourselves?
Well, I think we relied heavily on the relationships that my parents had built throughout, my dad's time when he was working. And they really helped us understand what was going on and helped us to get to a place where we could get dad into a home and to understand that that's what we needed to do. It was so new. Like, he was wandering around the house and he couldn't understand COVID, and all of that was just so much. Like, I remember working at home all day long and going to my parents' house every evening to really just give my mom some relief because, after I would leave at night till the next time I would arrive, she was the only one that was caring for him. And not every day was difficult, but you had to be on your toes.
How did you handle the emotional aspect of caregiving? You had just come through that whole upheaval with your brother, and
Yeah.
now it's time to care for dad. And what advice would you give to people that are going through similar experiences?
I think every time I went to see my brother or my dad, I would try and think of things that they liked, things that would distract them, things that we could focus on together. So it was pretty easy for my brother and dad because they were both really into sports. And then also I would, just keep dad abreast of like people in his life that he knew of, like just give him like tidbits of things happening. And he he was really good because he would remember the person and ask questions. And I would make videos with him because I learned with Chris, man, I should have taken more photos and videos early on. And so, every time it was someone's birthday, I would have to record a birthday message for them and I would, send it to them. And it was really great because now I have all of these little mini videos of dad wishing people, happy birthday or Merry Christmas or whatever it is. So I think to focus on the good things, to celebrate every little thing are ways that you can focus on the good and focus on being, a light instead of being sad and dwelling on the illness. Because, with ALS and dementia, there's not much you can do other than make the person comfortable. And I think for me, that was what I wanted to focus on the most.
The one thing about a diagnosis, some people feel, or some people eventually think that it's the end of life, or my loved one can't do anything anymore, and they want
Mhm.
to do things for them, but that is not so. And I
Yeah.
know that you're pretty creative, in doing things, just allowing people to do things, even if they can't do it the right way anymore, simplifying the task, just
Yeah.
helping them to continue to have that quality of life.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yes. So that is really, really nice, Sherry. And we've spoken a lot about these things, so I know a lot about your story. So, um, like in terms of community, though, especially now with your ALS charity, you do a lot of community engagement. So, can you speak on the importance of community and support that people going through this type of journeys can either expect or reach out for, and how important is community in a caregiver's life?
Well, I think community is one of the most important things because these people that you will meet understand what you're going through. Your friends and family may not get it. If they haven't been through it, they don't understand what you're going through. And sometimes you just really need to be in a place or talk to someone who knows what you're living through. And it's interesting because sometimes while you're in it, you don't want to talk about it anymore. You don't want to be reminded of the illness or the difficulties. But I think you need to really try and move past it and talk to people who are also living your same shared experience. Because while ALS is a horrible, horrible disease and dementia as well, because they're such difficult diseases, a lot of people don't like to talk about them. So, why would I want to care for my loved one and then go out or pick up the phone and speak to someone else who's dealing with the same thing? It's sort of like prolonging living in the illness, but it's not. I think all the people that I've talked to, that I've met because of Christopher's illness with ALS, because I started ALS Double Play, we have become the closest of friends now because we have this shared kinship. We know, the day-to-day of what we had to go through, and having each other to lean on is so amazing and so important, I think,
It is.
because, like your best friend can be your best friend, but if they have not lived through a caregiving experience like you, it's really difficult for them to understand what you're going through.
And I think one of the worst things that happen when, you're afflicted with something like this is that you lose friendship. People, they fall off, family. It's very
Yeah.
lonely. This disease can be very lonely because
Mhm.
people don't understand it. Why
Yeah.
why can't she come out with me when I want to go out? And
Oh,
then
yeah.
really
Yeah.
you don't have that support and you're all alone. And then the other thing that caregivers tend to do is they think they are the only ones that can care for their loved ones, and they
Mhm.
forget to care for themselves and eventually end up burnt out. And especially the older caregivers, some of them end up dying before the ones that they are caring for. So, just putting self-care uh, in the forefront, reaching out for help, allowing people to support you. If someone offers to bring you a meal, accept. And
Yeah.
it also helps a lot when you are going through difficulty and you reach out to help other people. It sort of lessens that burden. It makes you feel good. So I think community is so important. But that said, I just feel like people that don't have the support, or people that haven't had the opportunity to hear from other people, from other stories. That is why I started this podcast, to give people the opportunity to listen to other people's stories and learn a thing or two from that. So thank you for sharing. And then my other question is, did your education, even though your education was not in healthcare, did it help? Did you have to do a lot of research? And what type of information do you wish you had known while you were going through either ALS, which you're now providing for families, of course, or through dementia with your dad?
I can't say that my education helped any. I think maybe what my education improved was that I can read and understand things. So, with Google, like there's so much you can read online, but I think I would caution people to make sure you look at the source of what you're reading, right? Make sure it is a reputable source where you're getting your information from. But what I wish I knew beforehand was maybe signs to look for, especially with dementia, prevention, because there's a lot of talk today about prevention. I recently took up guitar lessons because you know what? I am not going to get dementia and I need to learn a different way to use my brain.
Awesome. It can be prevented, most of it,
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, diet, exercise,
the
using your
Mediterranean
brain,
diet. Yeah.
right? All of this, getting the right amount of sleep, getting quality sleep, all of these things.
Stress
Like, I wish,
management.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Although I think about my dad, he was busy, he was working all the time. He was in good shape. That man, was so funny. He walked all the time in the park near the house. And in the summertime, he's so funny. He would walk with no shirt on. He would be walking and be like, "Oh, I'm hot." And he'd take his shirt off and he'd be walking shirtless through the park. And it's so funny because after dad passed, someone came up to my mom in the park and said, hey, where's that man that, used to walk shirtless in the park? Oh my goodness.
But
Uh,
look at it this way, maybe all those activities helped him. He did not develop dementia until in his 80s, right?
right. Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's true.
most of dementia can be prevented. So those exercises and stuff can help. But I don't think we can fully prevent, but there are so many ways that we can mitigate the risk of
Yeah.
dementia. So absolutely. And Cherrie, as you reflect back on your experiences, what are the insights or lessons you would like to share with people?
I think the number one thing is that, people always say life is short. It really is. And so for me, it's like gratitude. Every day, when I'm walking my little dog, I list all of the things that I'm grateful for the day before. And I think that that really helps. It helps with your mindset, but it also helps with your day moving forward. Like, who am I going to spend my time with today? And how can I be more present? How can I celebrate just the day and being with them? Because these are things that you're going to remember after the fact. These are things people remember about you. And I think that's all we have at the end of the day. So I'm super happy to celebrate all the littlest things, even though, I don't know, some people might say that sounds very trivial or too simple, but I don't know, simplicity is like the
Simplicity
easiest
and the
thing.
gratitude purpose, keeps us
Yeah,
going, right?
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me in
Oh,
this episode. And let's all join hands together as we unravel dementia. When we know what to do, how to prevent it, and help those that are going through the journey, it makes us the better for it. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
you too.